Hi, everybody. Matt Bernio, joined by DRF's national handicapper Mike Watchmaker, taking a look at this weekend's Weekend Warrior for Saturday, January the 26th. Big day of racing down at Gulfstream Park. Pegasus World Cup day. Going to go over the actual World Cup, the World Cup Turf, as well as the WL McKnight. Let's kick things off with the big one, Mike. Race number 12. It is the Pegasus World Cup on dirt, 1.125 miles. You have Accelerate, you have City of Light, but then you have some intriguing sort of longer shots in this race. Where'd you end up?
I went with one of those intriguing longer shots, Matt, and his name is Tom Detad. But before I explain why I went with him, I have to note that clearly the two best horses in this race on paper are Accelerate and City of Light. I mean, Accelerate is a slam dunk to be champion. We're taping this Thursday morning. The Eclipse Awards are tonight. He's a slam dunk to be champion older horse. He's a finalist for Horse of the Year. Only lost once, Breeders' Cup Classic, went a whole 9 yards. I mean, he's absolutely the deserved favorite in here. And City of Light is a very dangerous opponent. He was sensational winning the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and he's the only horse last year who beat Accelerate. And he did it on the square in the McKnight Handicap at this 1.8 mile distance. The reason why I'm going against Accelerate, I think City of Light's very dangerous in here, but the reason why I'm leaning against Accelerate is he must go early here. And I think that that's the reason why he worked a bull at 5 furlongs last Saturday. I think his connections know this, but he has to go early here to secure early position. There's a short run to the first turn. There's going to be speed coming down on his outside. There's City of Light at his inside, and he's at risk of getting shuffled back, farther back than he really wants to be, and that short run to the first turn if he doesn't go early here. And the other thing is, you know, even though he won the Breeders' Cup Classic and before that he won the Awesome again, his buyer figures in those races were only 105 and 100. That's kind of pedestrian for this class of horse, and he's going to have to do better than that. And now when you put those two things together on a horse who's going to be the favorite, that's reason enough for me to take a shot against. I do think City of Light is extremely dangerous in here, and he might be perhaps the most likely winner. The reason why I picked against him is because we all know that pattern recognition has to send like a crazy horse from the 12 hole. I mean, the 12 hole has no chance at Gulfstream going 1.8 miles. He's a speed horse. He was the front running winner of the Cigar Mile. I mean, it's got to be all boots and spurs and all of that coming out of the gate for pattern recognition. And, you know, that might, you know, work City of Light up and get City of Light involved in a little bit of pace battle. So, I wanted someone who could start from close range, who was also going to be a price, and that horse is Thomas Detad. And there's nothing wrong with his form. I know he's got a big 15-plus month gap in his past performances after this win we're looking at Saratoga, a win, by the way, in which he got a 106 buyer speed figure, which is absolutely competitive with the best horses in this race. He's come back from that long layoff. He's galloped in his two starts since then, including a stake race at Fairgrounds. It's good. It's a good sign that he's putting races together now. It shows that he's in good form. And the other thing about him is I think he's going to work out a sweet trip. He's got the positional speed to set off a potential pace battle. And, you know, I don't think he's going to be as big as the 20-1 he is on the morning line, but he's a price horse, and I think he's got a legitimate shot here.
Race prior to the dirt race, race number 11 is the inaugural Pegasus World Cup Turf, and you do have a little bit of an international flavor, maybe not what you would if this race was a few months later on, where many of the other horses from Europe and elsewhere are really in full-blown training, but you have Magic Wand, who's interesting. You have Aerolith coming in from Japan, but then you've got a pretty decent group of domestic hopes here. Where'd you end up?
I like Bricks and Mortar in this spot. You know, Bricks and Mortar came back from a 14.5-month layoff last month at Gulfstream Park. He won an allowance prep for this, and now he's stretching out to a distance mile and 3/16 that he should absolutely love. And when he was a 3-year-old, he and Yoshida met 3 times in stakes races. And to me, he was a demonstrably better horse than Yoshida at that time. And Yoshida's the favorite in this race. Now, Yoshida, he won the Woodward, Grade 1 Woodward on dirt. I'm going 1.8 miles at Saratoga. He won the Turf Classic on the Kentucky Derby undercard on yielding turf. going 1.125 miles at Churchill Downs last spring. This is 1.316 miles. I just wonder if this might not be a little bit too far for him, because, you know, there was a moment in upper stretch of the Breeders' Cup Classic where I thought Yoshida might actually get up to win this race. I mean, he made this big, threatening, wide move on the outside, and the race was kind of falling apart. And he just didn't stay in the late stages. And I think the 1.25 miles was too far for him. And he's going to be the favorite in this race. And I just wonder if this race might not be a touch too far for him. And on the other side of the coin, Magic Wand, I think, is very dangerous in here. She's a good fourth against a strong field in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. And before that, 2nd and 2 Group 1 races in Europe. But I wonder if a 1.316 miles is too short for her. All her best races have been 1.25 miles and up. So, you know, you've got these questions about horses that are going to take money in here. Bricks and Mortar is going to take money here, too, because it's a Chad Brown production. But I think he's the coming horse. I always thought this horse had immense potential, and I think he's ready to deliver on it now.
And the race prior to the 2 Pegasus World Cup events, race number 10, it is the distance race of the day. It's the McKnight Handicap. It's a grade 3 event, 1.5 miles on the turf course. You got a big full field. Where'd you end up?
I went with Zulu Alpha in here, hoping, maybe beyond hope, but hoping that, you know, everybody jumps all over Hunting Horn because he's taking a massive class drop in here. Hunting Horn is. He ran in the Breeders' Cup Turf last time out. He ran on the Arc de Triomphe 2 starts back. This race is neither one of those races, but I don't know how good Hunting Horn really is. I mean, you know, he ran an okay third in the Belmont Derby last summer, and that was, I thought, a pretty poor, actually, performance in the subsequent Secretariat. I don't know how good he is. Zulu Alpha ran last time out in the Fort Lauderdale Stakes. That was a pretty strong field he was in with. Glorious Empire, who was a big surprise last year, but looks like he's totally legitimate. I mean, he's one of the best turf horses in the country right now. And Zulu Alpha had no chance with the trip he pulled. He was 4 and 5 wide all the way around the racetrack, and he wasn't anywhere near the pace. Now he's stretching back out in distance, close to the distance at which he won the Sycamore at Keeneland 2 starts back when he was involved from the start. It was decisive victory in that performance. I look for Zulu Alpha to be forwardly placed from the outset in this race, and I think that class drop added distance adds up to a win here for Zulu Alpha.
DRF's national handicapper Mike Watchmaker with the Pegasus World Cup edition of the Weekend Warrior for January the 26th. You can find the entire write-up over on DRF.com. Mike, great stuff as always. Good luck this weekend, and we'll talk again next week.
Thank you, Matt.